Welcome to Highline Office 2016 video number 2. In this video, we want to talk more about Windows Explorer and how to use it for file management. Now, in this video, we're going to see how to create folders using Windows Explorer, renaming files and folders, copy, paste, move, delete files and folders, verify downloads, backup files, download pictures from your phone, and even compress a folder, all using Windows Explorer while doing file management. Now I'm going to close this by clicking the red X or using my keyboard to close the active window, Alt F4. Now this is our class website, and I just want to remind you this is our second video. There's no link for the video yet because I'm filming them. There's no start file or finish file or assigned homework. So the only other thing you have to do besides watch this video is download the PDF. Those are the notes that summarize everything you see in the video. Now this is a browser, so it's a window too. So I'm going to use Alt F4. Now before we open Windows Explorer, we're going to take our jump drive, which we're required to have for this class, and plug it into our computer. Now I plugged mine into the front. Yours might plug into the side or the back or wherever. Hey, look at this. I have this open, and it's easy enough, so I'm simply going to click it to open up Windows Explorer and automatically have my jump drive selected. Now remember, left and right side of Windows Explorer. What's great about Windows Explorer is I can click on any drive or folder. There's the C drive, and look and see what's inside. Over here, there's the jump drive. Now, last video, our first video, we created this folder, O1 Excel file, and we created these files. O2 Word, I click on it, I can see what's inside. Now, the first thing we want to do is create a folder. Now, notice there's the jump drive folder, but watch this. I'm going to click on the O1 Excel file because that's selected on the left. Now, if I use a keyboard to create a folder, it will create a folder over here that's visible, but it will be inside that folder. So this is the first time we've created folders within folders. Now remember, there's a few ways we could create folders. New folder is certainly an option, but the fastest way when you're creating lots of folders is to use the keyboard, Ctrl-Shift-N. Immediately, it's polite. It's highlighting the potential name for us. So all I have to do is start typing. I don't have to click delete. I'm going to call this Day 2 Excel Files and enter. Now there's a folder inside there. If I come over and hover on the left now, look at that. There is a triangle that I can click, and it will expose that now there's a folder within a folder. Anytime you have a folder within a folder, it's always going to be indented. Now I'm going to click on the Day 2 Excel Files folder, and then Control-Shift-N to create a folder inside a folder, and type Day 3 Excel Files and enter. Now I can hover over here, and I've created yet another folder inside a folder. Now this is the first example we've seen of creating folders inside of folders. It's sort of a silly example. Next video, we'll create an entire hierarchical structure where you have a Highline college folder, and then quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3. And then within each quarter, we'll have classes. But here you go. We have folders inside of folders. So with Windows Explorer, we can create folders. We can also rename folders. Now, Day 2 Excel Files, Day 3 Excel Files. Notice up here it says O1 Excel File. I really need that to be plural because we're storing Excel files in here. Now, if I'm going to rename a folder or a file, I can rename it on the left or on the right. Now, on the left, I have to simply select the folder wherever it is. If I want to do it on the right, I have to select the drive or folder above it. Notice once I select this drive, I'm allowed to see anything inside of it. Then I can come over, click on, in our case, folder, and use the keyboard to rename it F2. So I'm certainly allowed to rename a folder or file on the right side. Now I'm going to click Escape and come over and click on the folder on the left side. When I use the keyboard to rename F2, no problem. I can rename it on the left or the right. Now, last video we saw when we're renaming, we can jump to the front of the file name by using the Home key. Similar to the Home key, we can jump to the end using the End key. So Home, whether you are renaming files or folder, in Excel formulas, in a Word sentence, in a browser address bar, Home always jumps to the front. The End key always jumps to the back, wherever you are in whichever program. Now, I need to add an S, so I simply type an S and Enter to register that new name. Now I'm going to arrow down using my arrow keys to O2 Word file. Now I can use F2 to put it in edit mode, the N key to jump to the end, and the letter S. Now I've renamed it, so I hit Enter. So we can create folders and rename folders. Another important task, if I select O1 Excel file in Windows Explorer, is to copy, paste, move, and delete files. Now, before we copy, paste, move, and delete these files, we got to talk about selecting multiple files. Now, how would I select just the first one and just the last one if I wanted to delete them or copy them? Well, watch this. You click on the first file, and before you click on another file, you hold a Control key. The Control key allows you to highlight multiple items, even if they're not next to each other. Now, this is a great trick, and we'll use it everywhere. We'll use it in Word to highlight sentences that are not next to each other. In Excel, we'll highlight multiple totals in different parts of the spreadsheet and then add formatting. Imagine this. If you're checking your email, you have 20 emails, and you want to just select 5 of the emails that are junk emails to delete them. That's where the click, hold Control, and click whichever items you want comes in handy. Now, if you want to highlight all of the items in the list, click on the first one. And before you click on the last one, it's not Control, it's the Shift key. Now we can highlight from the first bookend to the last bookend and everything in between. So Control highlights items that are not next to each other. Shift highlights everything from some starting point to some ending point. Now I want to copy these and paste them down in Day 3 Excel files. So instead of right-click Copy, I'm not going to do that for 2 reasons. One is it takes more time than a keyboard. But the more important reason for right-click Copy and right-click Paste and right-click Cut is many places like dialog boxes in Word or Excel, or websites when you have a text box that you're filling out like at southwest.com. Right-clicking won't work to copy or paste. So instead of using right-click Copy, I'm going to click Escape. We're going to use the keyboard Control-C. Now, I've copied them, and I want to paste them inside of Day 3. So I click on it, and now I use the keyboard Control-V. Because I had it highlighted on the left, those files went into that folder. Now, I'm going to go back to O1 Excel files. And now I want to cut and paste or move. Now, there's 2 ways we can do it. We can click and drag, or we can use our keyboards. The keyboards are easier because they're more universal. They work in more places than dragging and dropping. Now let's do our keyboards first. I'm going to click on the first one, hold Shift, click on the last one. When you move files, you first need to cut and then paste. To cut, we use the keyboard Control-X. Now notice immediately they're gray, which means we are moving these. Now if I click on the O2 Excel files, now I can Control-V. Now if I click back on O1 Excel files, they're gone because I moved them. Now here's a great trick. I moved them to here, but I didn't want to. I made a mistake. I'd like to undo that. Now I don't even know where the little blue undo button is in Windows Explorer. But no matter. We're never going to use that blue button. Undo is almost the most important thing. How many times do we make mistakes in Word or Excel and we want to undo? Well, the keyboard is Ctrl Z. Now, I didn't click Ctrl Z. So look right there in O2 Excel files. Now I'm going to Ctrl Z. They go away. And of course, since I undid it, they appear back in O1 Excel files folder. Now, the other way to move things or copy things for that matter is to click on the first one, hold Shift, click on the last one, and we can click and drag. Now, there's a big problem with this. It's not consistent when we're going from somewhere on a drive to another place on a drive, or we're going from one drive to another. That's why I just never drag and drop. I use keyboards because they work the same everywhere. But let's see what happens. Notice O1 Excel files. I want to move them down here. This is from one location on this F drive to another. So let's just see what happens if we drag. I'm going to click, hold, and drag. When I see O2 Excel files highlighted, I drop. Well, look at that. No matter what you do when you drag, it's definitely going to move it. Now I'm going to Control Z to undo that. Watch what happens. Click, Shift, click on the last one. Watch what happens when I go from drive to a different drive. Click and drag. It copied. They're still there. If I click on C, there they are right there. Now, it's no problem. You can drag if you want. You just have to be sure that you remember. Same place on a drive to a different place. It's definitely going to move them. One drive to another, it's going to copy them. I'm going to stick with keyboards because they work the same everywhere. Now, another important task is if I go down to O3 Excel files, click on just the first one, and then I'm going to hold Control and click on the last one. I want to delete the .xls and my second. So watch this. I'm using a drive here. This is a plug-in jump drive. Watch what happens when I hit the delete key. We actually saw this last video, but I have to remind you because this can get you in trouble. When I use the delete key and I'm on a jump drive, it's going to permanently delete them. I'm going to click Yes. Those are gone. There's no recycling bin here. Now, let's copy this, Control C. Now I'm going to click on the desktop using Windows Explorer left side and Control V. There it is at the bottom. Now, watch what happens when I hit the delete key. That is much more polite. It says, are you sure you want me to move this to the recycling bin? I'm going to say yes. So when you're on a jump drive, the delete key will permanently delete them. If you're on somewhere on your computer like desktop or C drive, it will move them to the recycling bin. So that's deleting. Now, another important thing for Windows Explorer, I'm going to look in Day 3 Excel files. We have one file here. But I want to download something exactly to that folder location. So I'm going to go to our class website, people.highline.edu/mgirvin. Click on Business 216. There's the Windows Explorer page. There is the handout for this video. Now, with PDFs, if you click on them in most browsers, it opens it in the browser. I'm going to click the back button here. So if we want to download it, lots of times we have to right-click. And when you right-click to download it, depending on what browser, you'll see different items. It'll say Save Something As, Save File As. In our case, it says Save Link As. So I'm going to click that. And there it is. Look at this. What is this? This is Save As. We have 1, 2, 3 different parts to save as. I'm going to use, on the left, the triangles. Click to open F drive. Click to open O1. Click to open O2. And select Day 3 Excel files. I want to save it there. What do you want to call it? I'm going to keep it the same. What is the file type or extension? Adobe Acrobat is fine. Now I'm going to come over and click Save. Now, we could open it from here and work with it, but we haven't verified that we downloaded it to the correct location. I download so often and have so many important files that I want to find later. I always click back on wherever the Windows Explorer is. I go to that location, and I'm using Windows Explorer to verify. Now, I can't quite see the full file name, so I'm going to come up between name and date and double-click with that cursor to expand to best fit the whole column. So I used Windows Explorer to verify after doing a download. Now, another important task we are going to do often is back up. So if I click Collapse, that whole folder, I worked hard. There's all sorts of stuff in there. I'd like to copy and paste it somewhere else. I can simply select it, Ctrl-C, and if I want to back it up to my computer, I could put it somewhere like the desktop or C. I'm going to click on the desktop and Control-V. Now I have backed it up. Now I've backed this folder up. That folder has every single one of the files from the F drive over here. Yes, I'm working on the F drive most of the time. This is my primary folder and files. But now I have a backup in case something happened to this jump drive. Now, when I pasted this to the desktop, notice the desktop doesn't allow me to drill down and see what's inside. So if I really did it on the desktop, I have to double-click it to see what's inside. And notice up in the address bar, there is the top folder. Now, if I want to drill down into day 2, look at that. The address bar is showing us the full file path. Double-click. Now I see the full file path, and there are the 2 folders. Now, desktop, we have backed up. We went from jump drive to somewhere on our computer. Sometimes, however, you want to go from one jump drive to another. No problem. I'm going to put in another jump drive. Now, this popped up. I'm going to Alt F4 to close it. There is the other jump drive. So I'm going to select my folder with all the folders and files inside. Control-C to copy. Click on the new jump drive. Control-V to paste. And sure enough, now I have backed up from F to G. So backing up is important, especially if your files are important to you. Now, another great trick. We have plugged in 2 jump drives. But another great trick is we all have phones with pictures. And we can actually just plug our phone into the computer and use Windows Explorer to copy photos from our phone, paste them somewhere on our computer, back them up, even rename them. So I'm going to plug my phone in. I actually already did plug my phone in. There it is right there. It's just like one of these other jump drives. I can use Windows Explorer to click my triangles and drill down. I'm going to go down to DCIM, and now I'm going to click on camera because I want to look in that folder. We are 1, 2, 3, 4 deep. Now, here are the pictures that I want to select. Now, one other thing about Windows Explorer before we actually copy these photos to our computer, we have the ability to look at files with different views. Now, I'm using Windows Explorer in Windows 7. Some of the more recent versions actually have a sort of ribbon tab, and you have to find the View tab. Most systems, however, have somewhere on the menu up here an icon like this. I'm going to click the drop-down arrow, and here's the different views. We're in large icons. We can do extra large icons. Click, and one of the most important views for files is Details. I'm going to click Details. Now, Details, there's the name of the file. There's the type. There's the size, the date modified. If you want to add new columns to your Windows Explorer, you can actually right-click any one of the column headers, right-click, and I'm going to click on Created. Now I have a new column called Created. So we can get information about our files using the detailed view. Now, I'm going to go back to large icons because our goal is to copy these from our phone. And I'm going to use the great trick. Click on the first one, hold Shift, click on the last one. Now I'm going to Control C to copy. Go over to Kingston and watch this. I already am in the middle of copying files, but I forgot I need a new folder here. No problem. I know the keyboard. Control Shift N. I guess I accidentally hit the delete key, but no problem. Now I'm going to type a name. And I'm going to try to give it a smart name. I put the date, year, month, day, and then some description so I know exactly what this is. The idea behind naming things is so it makes it easy for us later to find it. Now watch this. Here's another great trick. I'm in the middle of Kingston creating a new folder. When I hit Enter, it will register it. Enter. And if I hit Enter again, it totally opens it. I can see the folder over here. So Enter, Enter, and then Control V. I am copying my pictures from my phone. Now, with file management in mind, most of us have many, many photos. And they all look like this. I have no idea what each one of these pictures might be. Now I'm going to use Windows Explorer. I'm just going to double click. This will open up whatever the editor. There's a cool picture of my son racing BMX. I can use the arrow keys to move forward. There's a picture we used in this video and last video. So I'm using my arrow keys to look through. Now I'm going to close this, the red X or Alt F4. And I've looked through them, and I've determined which ones I want to keep. The first one is the BMX one, so I'm going to select it and hit F2. Now that I like right there. That's the date. I'm going to keep that. And then delete some of it, but leave the extension. Notice that .jpg, that means JPEG. That means a type of picture. I'm going to give it a smart name. Richland State BMX Championship, and Enter. Now I could go ahead and continue doing that, but I'm going to leave it there. File management on our phone pictures using Windows Explorer. Totally helpful. Now we have one last task. I'm going to click on the Kingston over here. And that is a folder with lots of pictures. If I wanted to email all of these to someone, I would have to upload each one individually. Well, we have the ability to take a folder that has a bunch of files inside, no matter what type of files, Excel, Word, pictures, and zip it up. That will create a new zipped folder that's a single item that will be a smaller size and has the ability to be attached to an email. Now, how we zip it depends on your operating system and what type of computer. But in all of the operating systems and computer, we're going to start zipping by right-click, and we have to go down to Send to, and there it is, Compressed Zipped Folder. So I'm going to click that, and sure enough, it's doing its job. It's going to create a whole separate zipped folder. And there it is. There's the icon Z for zipped, and there's the extension zip. So I hit Enter. Now we can open our email and attach this, or just put this on some drive, and it will have a much smaller size. Now, if you want to unzip, right-click, and I have to look through the list for something like Extract Files or Extract All, and I don't see it. On my computer, the program that unzips is called 7-Zip. So I come over here. Extract Files, extract here. I'm going to say Extract Files. Now it's trying to send it to the F drive, and I don't want that. So I'm going to use this button right here, and this is not a polite button. There's a few places that we'll see in this class where ... means I can browse. Normally this button will say Browse, which means when you click it, you're allowed to browse and send this wherever you want. I'm going to click on the other jump drive, then click OK. Now I'm going to come down here and click OK, and it is unzipping and sending it to that other jump drive. We are using Windows Explorer to zip a folder with a bunch of files and then unzip. And sure enough, there it is. All right, that was a lot of fun with Windows Explorer. We saw how to create some folders within folders. We saw how to rename folders. We talked about copy, paste, move, and deleting files. We even downloaded files and verified them in Windows Explorer. Of course, we backed up. We took the whole folder and backed it up to another jump drive and to the desktop. Then we saw how to download pictures from our phone and smartly name them. And then we saw how to zip and unzip a folder filled with files. All right, next video, we'll build our logical system of folders for our class. We'll see you next video.